Moving into our next story of the day, we have DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas refusing to take accountability for the unprecedented migration crisis and actually shifts the blame. And who's he blaming? Congress, which is so typical of the Biden administration. And we do have a clip here to play for you in one moment of the former acting ICE director just ripping him a new one. But it's typical of the Biden administration to do this. And you've actually seen it not just from DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas shifting the blame to Congress, but Karine Jean-Pierre as well, because who's in control of Congress right now? Well, it's the Republicans. So it's always Republicans' fault. And if it's not Republicans' fault, it's somebody else's fault. We've seen this from Karine Jean-Pierre to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in terms of blaming the economy on Putin. So early on, gas prices increased. You had record inflation, 40-year high inflation, and they were blaming it on the Putin price hike, even though prices were increasing before Putin ever invaded Ukraine. And also you had record inflation. That was everybody else's fault, even though Joe Biden passed out stimulus checks like they were hotcakes, causing, again, 40-year inflation. So it's always everybody else's fault. But here you have a fabulous clip of Fox News, and we're watching it in its entirety, of former acting ICE director just ripping the guy a new one and listening to these weekly stats. These are updated stats. And what he's about to read here is just from 1 week, you guys. I hope you're sitting down for this because these sound like monthly numbers. And these would have probably been like 6-month period under the Trump administration. But these are happening in a week. Just check this out.
Aisha, for more on the crisis at the border, Tom Homan joins us now. He's a former acting ICE director and a Fox News contributor. Tom, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Let's take a look at a week at the border, courtesy of Border Patrol. 6 agents assaulted, 41,045 apprehensions, 11,882 approximate gotaways, 51,894 in cash seized, 917 pounds of cocaine, 528 pounds of marijuana, 33 pounds of deadly fentanyl, 3 pounds of meth, 8 pounds of heroin, 14 firearms, 9 sex offenders, 3 murderers. How do you assess those numbers for a week at the border?
Well, look, the men and women of the Border Patrol, first of all, the American patriots. I started my career as a Border Patrol agent. They're doing a great job, but they're overwhelmed. So those numbers you just said, very impressive, but they'll tell you they're catching maybe 10% of the drugs coming across. And why is that? Because this crisis is so big. 70 to 80% of agents are no longer on the line. They're in facilities processing families, changing diapers, making baby formula, making hospital runs. So when you take 70 to 80% of agents off the line, that's when the cartels move the drugs. That's when they traffic the women and children. That's when the known suspected terrorists come across. They're doing a great job. They're patriots, but they're overwhelmed.
Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas was on Capitol Hill this week. Let's play it.
You disagree with the head Border Patrol agent when he said that our border is not secure?
Congressman, I have testified to that issue.
So you do disagree with him? You disagree with your chief of Border Patrol?
I respectfully do in that regard,
You
Congressman.
do?
Wow.
What do you make of that?
He needs to be impeached. The man has no integrity. He lies under oath in front of Congress, and the American people should be outraged. He's a cabinet official who constantly lies under oath, which is a felony. He can't possibly say the border's secure. You know, we're at 1.7 million gotaways since he's been secretary. That's 1,700,000 aliens have crossed this border. We don't know who they are. We don't know where they came from. We don't know where they are now. But considering they've arrested, people from 171 different countries, and some of those countries are sponsors of terrorism, you can only assume that a lot of those gotaways are known suspected terrorists. They're carrying fentanyl. They're predators. They're criminals. There's a reason why they didn't turn themselves into Border Patrol to get processed, released, flown to a city of their choice at taxpayer expense. They wanted to get away because they didn't want to get vetted. They got an issue, and this is a huge, I've said it before and I'll keep saying it, this is the biggest national security failure this country has seen since 9/11.
What do you make of New York City Mayor Eric Adams coming to Washington?
We'll come back to this in just one moment, I promise. It's just amazing that Democrats get away with this type of stuff to lie to Congress blatantly. We all know the border's not secure. We all know what's going on. We all see what's happening. It's not even remotely secure. You can't have that many gotaways coming through and then pretending as if the border's secure. 1.7 million gotaways. And those are just the known gotaways, meaning it's probably even double that. And you also have 5 million people pouring across the border as well. So this is insane. I mean, just imagine how many terrorists are here. You saw a weekly number of just the murderers, the sex traffickers, the drugs that are pouring through. That was just in 1 week, 41,000 apprehensions in 1 week. And you're going to have the balls to say that the border's secure and we're supposed to go along with this? It just shows you the failure of the Biden administration. The guy has the balls to run again. And by the way, speaking of balls, Democrats have the balls to sit there and actually vote for the guy again, watching this all happen. At the same time, those same people that are voting for that knucklehead were complaining that the Trump administration was ripping child out of the arms of their family. Even Joe Biden was doing the same thing. They don't even have enough space at the border. Remember, that was a whole fiasco? And you had AOC going down there, they're drinking out of toilet water when they weren't. She was like making up photographs of her going to empty parking lots with a chain link fence. There was like nothing on the other side of the chain link fence. So this is what Democrats do. They don't care about these issues. They don't care about these children. If they did, the Biden administration would fix it. If they did, then you had Congress would have wanted to fix it under the Biden administration in terms of the first year and a half that he was in office. They had all three branches of governments and didn't do anything. They did absolutely nothing. They don't care, you guys. They don't care. They pretend like they care.
What do you make of New York City Mayor Eric Adams coming to Washington and being critical of the Biden administration's handling of the border crisis?
I'm critical of him. You look at those mayors, Mayor of New York, Mayor of Chicago, Mayor of Los Angeles, they're all complaining about this migrant crisis. They could fix it themselves if they wanted to. Every one of those mayors oversee a sanctuary city. The illegal aliens are going to their cities anyways. They can go to New York, they can get a job, they can get a driver's license. New York will give them money to help fight their immigration case. Who the hell wouldn't want to go to New York for your illegal alien? So, shame on them. They're sanctuary cities. They ought to be working with ICE. Because right now, in those sanctuary cities, if you're in the country illegally and you commit a crime, a serious crime, and let's say you go to Rikers Island, ICE isn't even allowed to go to Rikers Island to talk to that person and deport him.
So we're looking at the end of Title 42. It sounds like the administration's determined to rip the Band-Aid off in early May. What's the impact on the border?
Listen to this one.
I worry about the men and women at the border. Till the 20,000 men wearing that uniform, they're already overwhelmed. They got over 17 suicides last year. I'm not saying this border crisis caused that, but whatever internal struggles they were having, this historic crisis certainly didn't help. You're going to see more children die. You're going to see more drugs come across. You're going to see more women and children trafficked. You're going to see a hell lot more gotaways. Because when that surge comes in Title 42, that 70, 80% off the line is now going to be 90%, and some sectors will be 100%. There are several instances this past year where there was no Border Patrol agents in the entire sector. Hundreds of miles of border unprotected. That's going to get worse.
This city's famous for blue ribbon panels to look at big problems. If they did a blue ribbon panel, put you, Chad Wolf, and some Democratic administration officials, former officials on there, what would you tell them about fixing this problem as soon as possible?
Re-implement the Trump policies that we put in place that worked. They were effective. The data shows it. 45-year low illegal immigration down 83%. It saved a lot of lives. They could secure this border in 90 days if they re-implement the policies that proven effective.
There you go, folks. I mean, you heard it from the horse's mouth, the guy that's done the job, and you have the Biden administration doesn't want to do the damn job. They want to sit there and exacerbate the problem, make it worse. And again, this is our theory here in the Bald Brad Show, where we believe, some of us, especially myself, that the whole end goal here is to get as many illegal aliens across through the border as possible, so that when the next administration comes in, that's a Republican administration, builds that border wall, they've already cushioned the pad enough to where it's not economically feasible to deport 22 to 25 million people back to their home country. And so Republicans are going to engage in an amnesty conversation for all 22 to 25 million people. And so when that gets processed and put through, as you would expect it to, because the border would hopefully be secure at that point, you stop the bleeding and the inflow happening, 75 to 80% of that group is going to be voting Democrat. So now you just swung the election in favor of the Democrats for like the next century, because those people want handouts and they're relying on the government for those handouts. I'm not saying Republicans don't, because if you even look at the data, Republicans tend to swing in the opposite direction in terms of having more government funding going to them, but that's for a whole nother video. But you understand what I'm saying here. This is the end goal. This is the end product of what the Democrats want. I'm curious on what you think about all this. Do you think DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas should be impeached? Do you think he should be removed? Hell, I know what you guys think about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, but do you think DHS Secretary should be let go? So now we're at the Joe Biden should be impeached. Kamala Harris should be let go as well. Karine Jean-Pierre should have been let go a long time ago. And now we have DHS Secretary. I mean, the list just keeps accumulating here. Folks, please leave us a comment down below. It does support the channel. Head over to our description section down below on this video. Grab yourself a copy of our book, Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. You just watched a video partially happening in real time here in terms of how the Democrats want to do it. Well, this book is not just about Democrats, but more specifically the progressive left on how they want to destroy this country from the inside out.
I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Bald Brad Show. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all our future content.